My name is Abil Beckford, and I started the One Problem podcast. We know there are tons of problems in the world, but we're tackling them one problem at a time. Most of the people who come on this podcast, I have some prior relationship with them. For my very special guest today, I interviewed her father in law for a project for the United Church of Canada. Then I interviewed him for a project that I was working on. And then he recommended that I should talk to his daughter in law, Kes Morton. Now, Kes Morton is the CEO of Pisces Research Project Management, Inc. Over to you, Kes.
Thanks, Avil. The problem I'd like to talk about today is collaboration. It's hard, it can be frustrating, but we absolutely need it, and here's why. So with collaboration, there's some really obvious success stories to collaboration. The shared load piece, many people know about that. Shared many hands makes light work. It's less risky because it's a shared load. And there's also better resources like equipment or talent, especially in today's economy, knowledge, funding. But there's some less obvious ones that I'd love to hit on as well here. So another couple of great reasons to collaborate. Diversity is really well known to increase ideation. And so if you have a broader team, you're going to have more diversity. Collaboration actually consistently results in higher impact work. So if you care about your work, it's good to collaborate. And collaborating with stakeholders from the ideation phase can really build in your early adopters, makes it far more likely that your product, idea, or policy will actually happen. And, a big thing that's important to me, because I work a lot and I love my work, is that it's more fun to collaborate. And apart from, being more fun, people who are having fun at work are actually more productive and do better work. Now, I will say this all starts from the understanding that you actually believe in your work. If you're just phoning it in, then collaboration is not for you. So in terms of how to collaborate, it's something that we've definitely thought a lot about at Pisces, and we've identified 4 key pieces, which I'll go into a little detail on each. So one is a shared vision. The second is empathy. The third is communication. And the fourth is planning for change. So if we're talking about a shared vision, you really want to think about your project purpose. And don't forget the silent goals, or what I like to call the secret heart wish. So there's what we write down, which is the project purpose, but then there's actually why we're actually here today. And if you can get to that, then there's a lot of likelihood that your project will be more successful. Talk about a high-level schedule and budget within your shared vision, your success criteria, which looks different from different perspectives. And that kind of comes back to that secret heart wish. What is it you want out of this project? And if you can get that out in the open from the get-go, it is so much easier. And then also want to make sure you talk about assumptions and constraints. So what's not going to work for you? So if traveling to Europe every second week to meet face-to-face with your stakeholders is not going to work for you, get that out in the open first and figure out a way around it. And then also thinking about who are your stakeholders. And I'm going to make a shout out here to suggest that you assign a project manager to curate this vision. It's ideal to have a neutral party so they're beholden to the project, not to one partner or another partner, but to the success of the project. And the second piece that we think about it is empathy. And a lot of times you think that empathy is something you either have or don't have, but you can study it, you can learn it. But the important part about empathy with projects is thinking about, knowing yourself, because you can't have empathy if you don't understand where you're coming from. So what is it you want out of this? Why are you collaborating? What do you want to spend your time doing? What's fun for you? Spend some time thinking about what's fun for you. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And then spend some time thinking about that with regards to your partner. And maybe, if you have a trusting enough relationship, have that conversation with your partner, but don't go in cold. Do your homework on it. It's kind of rude to walk into a meeting. It's the same as walking into a job interview. If you haven't read anything about the company's experience, do your homework on your partner, know what's important to them, read their strategic plan, and make sure that you are coming into that understanding where they're coming from so you can build that empathy in your project. The third piece is communication. So defining early on who you're going to communicate to, how, is it email, is it face-to-face, is it webinars, how often? Some people want to hear from you like every 2 days, and some people are like, please tell me once a month or if there's a problem. And what language you're going to use. And I strongly, strongly recommend, and this is again when your project manager comes in, document how you're planning to communicate. So there's no miscommunication about how you're going to communicate. And then finally, planning for change. Projects change. So for example, right now, we're seeing a lot of talent movement in the economy. A lot of people are switching jobs, making changes, which is affecting a lot of projects. So now what? Who makes decisions and how is a really important thing to get out early in your collaboration. Who can initiate that change? So if I lose a key personnel on my project, do I just get to hire someone new and just introduce you to them and that happening? But maybe your relationship was that key personnel who can authorize the change. And how tolerant are we of change? We don't want to go back and forth on which type of pen we're going to use for the project, but we probably want to think about if it's a 5% change to the budget, we should probably have a conversation with our partners about that. But figuring that out early in the project about how to make those decisions is really valuable. So my last shout out is, of course, as a project manager, I think that project managers do a great job of this. It's important to get a neutral party on this project. It can be internal or external to curate your vision, to manage the change and facilitate the communication. Consider a kickoff meeting and make sure that you write all of this stuff down because it really leads to a much better relationship if you've written it down to start. And back to you.
Thank you so much, Kes. This is an interesting way of looking at collaboration. And I like the 4 items that you talked about: the shared vision, the empathy, communication, and planning for change. Thank you so much.
Thank you.